Welcome, episode 2 of the Clean Sheet podcast on the Distinct Sports Network. We're going to be looking at a load of things today, mainly Liverpool, Man City, that sort of area, but then we'll touch on the Championship and League One later on. Starting off, probably the biggest game in English football, probably not the best game in English football. United Liverpool on Tuesday. How did that go, Connor?
Well, exactly how the first game went. If anything, is even more embarrassing than the first game because having the first game be the way it was, the second game can't happen like that. I mean, Liverpool made us look like kids again. It is embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. One man that I want to touch on about this game and just in general, Paul Pogba, please do what's right for Man United fans, do what's right for yourself, and just leave in the summer, please. A lot of Man United fans say, oh my God, Paul Pogba's got so much quality. Every single season is the same with Paul Pogba. 2 10 out of 10 performances against your Fulhams, your Burnleys of the world. Missing in every single big game. He'll fuck off for half the season because he's injured. He'll come back and all the United fans will get hope again. Oh my God, we're going to pick up now, Pogba's here. And then he'll fuck off for the rest of the season, right at the end, right when we need him in crunch time. Every single season, without fail, this happens. And it's happened again. He hobbled off after 5 minutes against Liverpool. There's fuck all wrong with him. And it really, honestly, it annoys me so much because don't get me wrong, Pogba is a good player, but his attitude stinks. There's a reason Fergie got rid of him. And then all these brain-dead United fans who rave about Pogba will touch on, oh no, but look at him at the World Cup. If I probably win a World Cup the way Kante played at the World Cup next to him, like it's just like I really think once Paul Pogba leaves, we will get better as just a club in general. And people want to touch on what he does off the pitch. I don't care what he does off the pitch. He is a footballer. He's not constrained. He can do what he wants off the pitch. I judge him by what he does on the pitch. And on the pitch, he has frauded his way into conversations he has no business being in. Thiago is 15 times the player Paul Pogba has been at any point in his career in the last 6 games. It's a joke. It just is a joke. United are a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know where he can go, really. Realistically, he's probably going to go to PSG, and I think that's going to make them worse. I don't think they need another player like him. So yeah, I'd be a bit stuck if I was him. I'm sure he's got loads of teams hitting him up, like Juventus. He might go back to Juventus or something like that. But he's going to be asking for these crazy wages. I think he's with Mino Raiola as well. So that's going to be even more money.
Parasite.
And then, yeah, I mean, that United performance was as bad as any team that I've seen against Liverpool. Never mind United. Like, this is as low as it gets, I think. I know we seem to say that loads of times, but I think that's got to be the lowest. Like, United offered nothing. Okay, they had 15 minutes where they had a couple of counter-attacks, but I think that was more Liverpool like stepping off the gas than anything. I mean, at least in the first game, they lost 5-0. They looked dangerous at times. This game, they just offered nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, it was like they were playing a championship side. And we said this last week. There's a culture problem because it can't be the manager. And they've had so many all these good players. They can't just, as soon as they go to United, they can't just become dreadful. It's got to be a culture problem, a training problem, something. There's got to be someone who needs to change the ideas at the club. I'm not sure whether Ten Hag can do it all himself. He's going to need a lot of time. Do you think United could still get top 4, or is that just too long gone now?
The thing is, I don't think we're going to get top 4, no. But I wouldn't say it's completely gone yet, just for the fact that I know Arsenal got a huge result against Chelsea the other day, but Arsenal and Spurs they both got much harder runnings than us, so they have the potential to mess up there. But do we have the potential to capitalise? No, that's why I don't think we'll get it. But just touching on the United Liverpool game again, it's just so sad that these group of players are killing one of the best rivalries in world football, because in the past, Liverpool, when I was growing up, Liverpool were always like they weren't as good as Man United.
Yeah,
But every time United and Liverpool play, and this is back in the 80s when Liverpool were the best, it's always just a wild card game. Form goes out the window, everything goes out the window. And for those 90 minutes, the players battle. It doesn't matter what happens. And whoever wanted more on the day would always come out on top. But all 22 of those players would come out knowing that they'd been in the game. Now it's just like our players just don't care about anything anymore, and it's the biggest game for United fans as a fan to watch, and they can't even get themselves up for that. They're killing the rivalry. It's not about Liverpool being as good as they are, because don't get me wrong, Liverpool are great, but it should be a wild card game, and it's just not anymore. United players are just embarrassing. Every single one of them is embarrassing. It took Hannibal to come on to kick a few of them, but it's
yeah.
embarrassing.
I mean, Liverpool have got the better players, and the difference in how hard both teams were working. Okay, you know, it's easier to sort of what look like you're working harder when you're in a better team, I guess. But they they just didn't look up for it. And how do you not get up for probably the biggest game in like at least England, but I think Europe. So certainly over the last few years. So so yeah, so I personally don't have United getting top four. I think Spurs will get it. I know they had that dreadful result at Brighton where we both thought that they were going to blow them out the water, but you know that this is the history of the Spurs, isn't it? So um yeah, so I mean even United even got Salah back in goal scoring form. So he couldn't score in his last 7 games or so. He bags 2 goals and an assist. So yeah, I also want to touch on Thiago as well. That game, okay, you don't want to hear this, but it's against Man United, so it's probably not the hardest opposition at the moment. They'll let most players run the midfield, but like that's probably one of the best midfield performances I've seen in such a long time. I know he doesn't get I know he doesn't get many goals, many assists. But he's not really that sort of player. He's a hard worker as well, but he will run the game. And after that performance, I still think De Bruyne is fairly clearly the best midfielder in the league. But I think then you've got Thiago, Rice, Kante. I think they're like the level below De Bruyne. And Thiago's got a say for being top 3 midfielders in the Premier League, certainly.
I'd agree. I'd rate De Bruyne and Kante above. I think Kante might. If you said De Bruyne is at the top, I think Kante is not actually that far. I think De Bruyne is still the best. But then, yeah, it's certainly like Thiago's really proved me wrong. I thought Thiago was a waste of space last season. I didn't make that a secret, but last 6, 7 games, he's really shown his quality. And the thing is, I kind of always knew he would. I think already there's an argument there for him being Liverpool's best midfielder, even though I do rate Jordan Henderson, I do rate the others around him, but yeah, I'd probably rank Thiago third. It's closer to him and Declan Rice, though.
Yeah, it'd be for me. It's between Fabinho and Thiago. Fabinho's had a bad couple of weeks, I'd say. He didn't play too well against Man City in the away game in the league. But just to touch on the FA Cup game because we haven't spoken about that yet. I mean, like that first half, that really surprised me because I think we both had Man City winning. I'm happy that Liverpool won, but I just didn't expect that. That was like that looked like the Liverpool of a few years ago where they blow teams away in the first half and then sort of let teams back into the game, conceding a few silly goals. Did you catch the game?
Yeah, I watched the game, and again, it just showed again a Liverpool Man City game. I know Man City weren't at the races in the first half, but they certainly were in the second half, and it just shows again the quality that those two teams possess is just it's unreal, really. Like Liverpool and Man City are so far clear of every other team in England, and there's an argument that they're very far clear of any other team in the world right now. Every time they play a game, everyone needs to watch that game because it's just it's how football. It's just a brilliant game of football every single time.
So I said last week, I think I had Liverpool only winning no, I had Liverpool winning the Champions League, but not the Premier League. I'm going to change that now. I actually think there's a very real chance that Liverpool do the quadruple. I'm thinking I I've got Liverpool dropping points to Villa away. I know it's Gerrard. I know you might think, oh, he's gonna give them a free pass. I don't think so. I think Villa away after what happened last year as well with that 7-2. I think Liverpool might struggle there. But I've also got City dropping points to Wolves away and West Ham away, because those are probably two of the toughest away
Yeah,
games outside of the top six. Um, so yeah, and City haven't been amazing over the past few weeks. That first half against Liverpool really made me think, oh, they don't look as strong as they did maybe a few months ago. Do you still have City as the team to beat? Well, in the Champions League and the Premier League. Well, I know you had Liverpool, didn't
yeah.
you, to win the Prem?
I'm going to stick with both the predictions I had. Obviously, the FA Cup one's in the bin now because I thought City would win it. I do think Liverpool will win the FA Cup final against Chelsea now. And I do think Liverpool will win the Premier League because I do think City will drop points away to Wolves because that's just such a notoriously hard place to go for City, especially to
Yeah.
Molineux. Wolves having a very underrated season. And I think that game, and then I think Liverpool are going to walk Villa. I can't lie. And then very last game of the season when City play Villa, I think that could be. I said it before. I say it again. I think that could be all the difference. I think that's where Liverpool win the league. For the Champions League, I have a City Liverpool final, but I do have City to win that Champions League. I think with Liverpool taking the domestic double, the FA Cup and the Prem, then City will surely they have anything about them. City will make sure they do anything to make sure that they go home champions of Europe that day when they play Liverpool in the final.
Well, I don't even think City are going to get to the final. I think I've said this before. Um, I I think City are probably third in line to get the Champions League. I've got Liverpool as my favourites because I think they beat either Man City or Real. After what I saw in that FA Cup semi final, I just think they're at the moment they've flicked a switch and they're so much they just seem switched on compared to Man City. As well as that, Carl Walker's in. He's in. I don't know how long for. De Bruyne got a run out the other day, but you're not sure whether he's 100%. And I said that Atletico game would take it out of them. So you've got to beware for that. So yeah, I've got Real Madrid getting to the final, and we know what happened last time Liverpool played Real, but I think they'll get revenge this time, and beat Real in the final. I don't see Liverpool slipping up to Villarreal. I can't see it. I know Liverpool are home in the first leg, which is always a bit of a disadvantage. But if Liverpool rarely score less than 2 or 3 goals. So if they rack up 2 or 3 goals and take that over to Villarreal, I don't see Villarreal beating Liverpool by the same margin. So yeah, I think Liverpool certainly in the final. Not exactly a bold prediction, but against Real Madrid or Man City, I'm going Real Madrid. Do you think Real Madrid have any chance?
No, I'm hoping, I'm praying that Real Madrid get past Man City, but I just think Man City just got that tiny bit too much. I think Man City have added the bit into their game where they can play different ways. You saw it against Atletico in the second leg. That wasn't really a football game, and they still scrapped it out and they managed to do it. I just think that Man City put it on pen and paper, Man City are just better than Real Madrid right now. That's what I think. I know Benzema is unreal and it's going to take a lot to stop him. But if they stop Benzema, they stop Real Madrid. And if they do that, Man City will be in the final and Liverpool will beat Villarreal. But I've got Man City winning the Champions League.
So on to probably the main topic for this episode that we've spoken about a little bit. But if Liverpool go on and do the quadruple, maybe even the treble, so excluding the FA Cup. I think if they don't get the Champions League or the Premier League, this isn't a discussion. But if they go and win the Champions League, the Premier League, the FA Cup, they've already got the League Cup. Do you think that makes them the greatest side in European history for one season?
As a Man United fan, I'll put my hands up. If Liverpool win the Premier League, they win the Champions League, and they win the FA Cup. So don't get me wrong, it's a big ask. If they do it, I will concede this Liverpool team will be the best single season team in European football history. I had Man United's treble winners from 1999 as like the main competitors. They only lost 3 games across all 3 competitions that season, all of them in the Premier League. But even then, like that United team, don't get me wrong, the way they played was amazing, but it's just something about this Liverpool team that just looks so unbeatable from every single position. And just like, I think it's a lot harder to beat this Liverpool team than the United team. I think that United team was a lot of late winners and scrappy play, just dogging it out. But this Liverpool team, they're just outclassing every single team they play. And then the only other team I could really think of that really isn't even in the conversation was Arsenal fans will go on about their 2004 team, but that's probably one of the most overrated, like big achievements I've ever seen. They drew 12 games in the league. They got dumped out the cup by United and Middlesbrough in the other cup. They got dumped out the Champions League by another English team, Chelsea. The Arsenal team isn't even in the conversation. I think it really is between United's 99 treble winning team, and if Liverpool win all the trophies this season, slightly, I think it will eclipse what we did in 1999, and that kills me to say.
Okay, to counter that, maybe make it a fairer discussion. What if Liverpool went on to not win the FA Cup and just won the League Cup, the Premier League, and the Champions League?
No, they need the FA Cup in my opinion. United 1999, they only people wouldn't speak about it so much. It was a double. It's because we went on and we won the FA Cup. Don't get me wrong, winning the FA Cup isn't easy, so it'll be very hard for Liverpool to do it. But they do need to win the FA Cup if they want to be put in the bracket of best team, single season team ever.
I do agree that the FA Cup holds a little bit more weight than the League Cup.
Yeah.
But then, so if you're giving the edge with the FA Cup, then I'd look at the difficulty of the league. So Liverpool are still going up against one of, if not like one of the greatest Premier League teams of all time, in Man City. Probably one of the greatest managers of all time. That's not to say the Arsene Wenger, it would have been Arsene Wenger at the time that United were going up against, wasn't a great manager, but I just think the quality and what did United finish with? 79 points that season.
Yeah.
And would they draw like 12 or 13 games or something like that? I think Liverpool, who are going to beat that by like double digits, probably get over 90 again. I just think that dominance, and I don't think it could be understated, the difference between like winning a game and drawing a game. Okay, you think United only lost 3 games, but I'd rather, this goes back to the Invincibles point, I'd rather have the most points in Premier League history than go unbeaten in a league season. Like, why wouldn't you want to win the most games? Football's not about drawing games or not getting beaten. It's about winning. So I think Liverpool winning, especially coming back after being so far behind, what was it, 13 points or so?
Yeah, exactly. That's the things that would make me tip it. Little things like that, and obviously, as you say, the points tally. I'd have to agree with you on this one.
Yeah, it's certainly close. I think if the FA Cup goes to Liverpool as well, it's not really a discussion. To touch on like the European side, I mean, it's a bit different because they don't have 2 like knockout competitions like the English do. So they don't have the League Cup and the FA Cup. They've just got one, and then they've got like a Super Cup, which is, I think in Spain it's like 4 teams and like a couple of rounds. It's not really a proper competition where you have to sacrifice some players, sacrifice some fitness and whatnot. So yeah, I think if Liverpool go on and win all 4 trophies, Liverpool will have the greatest side in European football history. Well, the greatest single season side. And who knows, if they go and do this, get a few more trophies over the next few years, this could be one of the greatest like eras in Premier League history or European history. Who knows? So yeah, it's a good time to be a Liverpool fan. Not so much a United fan, looking at who's at the top of the table. So to touch on United, we've got the news announced, somewhat, I think, a well-timed announcement by the club, just announcing that Ten Hag's finally agreed terms. I think they knew what they were doing after losing 4-0 to Liverpool. Get the announcement out, turn the attention away from the players. So what does Ten Hag need to do? Like, ideally, what can he do with this club?
Every manager that has come in since Fergie has made the same mistake of not getting the dead weight out. The dead weight need to go. We need a huge overhaul. Pogba, Lingard, Rashford, Mata, Jones, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, Telles, Wan-Bissaka, all of them need to go. Obviously, all of them won't go, but every single one of those need to go. And I've actually written a not a dream lineup for next season, but more of a like realistic lineup of what I'd love the lineup to be as well. Because obviously Ten Hag loves to play 4-3-3, and the board have already said they're going to give him 200 mil to spend, which is obviously a hefty amount. So I think we're going to keep De Gea in goal, and I'm not that mad about it. Is he like the best keeper in the world? No, but
it's the problem with the system with his feet, though. They're saying like Ten Hag's one of these like, well, he's like a student of Pep, isn't he? So he wants his keeper to be able to play with his feet. So that might be a problem and an opening for Dean Henderson, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But so I've gone for De Gea in goal. Right back, Wan-Bissaka can't be there. I've gone bold. It's going to cost a lot of money. But Tariq Lamptey from Brighton, I know he's just signed a deal which will make him more expensive, but I rate Tariq Lamptey very highly. The reason Liverpool and City are so good is because of their attacking fullbacks. We don't have that. We need that. So Tariq Lamptey. I'm going to keep Maguire in, but I'm praying to God that Maguire gets sold. And if we do bring someone in, the right man would be Koundé from Sevilla. Will we get him? Probably not, but aim big. So I've gone for Koundé centre back with Varane. I think we'll keep Varane, and I think we'll keep Shaw at left back, even though I think we need to really move on from Luke Shaw. But across the three, I've gone, they're going to keep Fred for the season he's had this season. He's not been fantastic, obviously, but I think they'll stay loyal with Fred, and Fred does give his all on the pitch, so I think they'll keep in. This is the main one. This is where we need, Pogba can fuck off, McTominay's not good enough. This is where we need somebody else. And either, he's not going to come to us, either you break the bank completely for Rice, you won't do it, but a more realistic one when we don't get Rice, Calvin Phillips from Leeds, I think he would be quality. I know people don't really make the switch from Leeds to United that much, but I think if we could manage to get Calvin Phillips in, that'd be a great signing. And then the man that I've got to complete the three is a man who's already proven that he can play under Erik Ten Hag, a man that's not gotten a chance at United. Donny van de Beek, in this three, I think we give him a chance. He could show what he could have been if he stayed at Ajax. And then on the left, I've got Sancho, because I think Jadon Sancho, as much as he's not really showing that much bite right now, he's still a very talented football player. And I'm going to go, I'm giving youth a chance on the right, because Rashford needs to leave. And then we're not going to get a very good right winger in anyway. And I don't think, it's just not realistic. So start your Amad Diallos of the world, start your Palestris. You bring in youth in the right wing position. Let United have a flying young winger again. Then up front, obviously, if we keep Ronaldo, which I'm not 100% we should, then Ronaldo will start every game up front. But let's say we do the sensible thing and either say to Ronaldo, right, either come off the bench or you're not going to be able to start every single game as a 38-year-old, which he will be next season. And the dream would be to bring in Osimhen from Napoli or Amin Gouiri from Nice. One of those two players up front, I really think they could have a real good run in the Premier League. And I think if Ronaldo comes in off the bench or just comes in for other games, then that would be fine. But that would be my dream 11 for next season, and a realistic one, but I doubt it'll happen, to be honest.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking with Amin Gouiri is, like, don't Ajax play with like a big striker?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
fairly big. I don't know how, he's not huge, is he? So I'd think about that. I saw a video on TikTok. It's this guy's got like quite a few thousand followers, and he does like analysis, and he's a United fan. And he was actually thinking about like good signing rather than like the big name signings. So like names like Sangare from PSV, who's like I think United need like a bit of grit, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't think Fred will start next year. I think he'll be Bruno. I think Van der Beek will get his chance. But then United need a six. They just need a six so badly. they need someone to like. You see all the best teams now, like Rodri, Fabinho. Okay, maybe not Chelsea. Don't really play with the DM. Casemiro. Um, Man United needs someone to sit in front of the back four. I think Maguire will stay, just because they've paid too much for him and they can't make what a 30-40 million pound loss on him this soon.
Yeah, that was just dreaming more than anything.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he could do all right. Maguire's got his downfalls. He's not the most agile. He's not going to move particularly well, but he's pretty good ball playing defender. So and we said at right back, Tarek Lamptey, gonna cost a lot, of course, but they're giving him money, so why not spend? If I was United, I'd spend. I know this usually doesn't work out for most teams, but in this situation, I think it would. Like 8 players or so, spend 25 mil on average on each, and just try and get like the squad flipped over and someone and a team that fits Ten Hag's identity. What the free signing I was thinking of was, Lazraoui from Ajax. He's out of contract. I think there's talk about him going to Real Madrid or Dortmund or someone like that. But if United could get in there, and obviously the Ten Hag connection, like I'd be sure that'd be a factor. And then at striker, of course, they need a new striker. We mentioned Darwin Nunez the other day. I would be very upset if United ended up getting him.
I don't think we land him,
No,
unfortunately.
but you've got the fight. You've of course got the finances. It's a big club. Maybe might not have Champions League next year, but you'd think it's maybe just going to be a 1-year break. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure at right wing though either. I don't know who you go for. Obviously, Sancho on the left deserves time. He's proven at Dortmund. Okay, it's the Bundesliga. We've got our opinions about the Bundesliga, but I think Sancho with time and with maybe a better manager and a better system, I think he can still come good. But no, the right wing is the hole that I'm just not sure of. And as you said, maybe just fill it in with young players, or if Rashford doesn't go, or whoever can just fill in there. But like
season with Rashford, I can't do that.
But if he's just like maybe playing against like the Burnleys and, well, maybe not Burnley next year, but the Southamptons of the world, and if he's just coming in those games, maybe not the bigger games, and you got him in there, I think he could still do a job, because at the moment you never really want to sell these players when their value's like so diminished after this year. Like Maguire, I can't see going. Ronaldo, I can see going, but that's Cristiano Ronaldo, so his value's not really going to diminish. You know what you're going to get. Rashford, I mean, at one point you could have talked like 80-90 million for Rashford. You think you're going to get over 40 now, over 30? Martial's still out on loan, isn't he?
Yeah, he needs to go as well.
He'll probably go. I think Sevilla said like 35-40 million is on the clause in the loan. So yeah, there's a lot to do for Ten Hag. He's got to sort it out. I know his first game in pre-seasons against Liverpool, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes.
One thing that he does need to do, one thing Eric Ten Hag does need to do, because this is the Man United way. I don't know why we've stopped doing this over the past few years. We've just stopped giving youth a chance. Like, we've just completely stopped. There's players, there's Hannibal, there's Pellistri, there's Amad Diallo, there's Garnacho, there's Zidane Iqbal. These players are great little players. Like, they're good young players. We poach them off other academies when they're younger, and then we don't even give them a chance. It keeps happening. And the Man United way has always been give youth a chance. Everyone knows that. Giggs when he was younger, the class of 92, all when they were younger. And now it's just stopped happening. Ten Hag, whether it's off the bench, whether he starts a few of them, whether it's cup games, he really, really needs to start bringing through the youth, because the last few managers just simply haven't done it. And then we end up watching players like Pogba just dropping 1 out of 10s every week and then walking home with $500,000 in the bank. Give the youth a chance. They're hungry. We need to give the youth a chance. We really
Yeah,
do.
I mean, United have still got probably one of, if not the best youth academy in the world. Like they're still churning out players, but yeah, as you said, once they get a chance, I'm sure they'll perform. Maybe not week in, week out, but just as young players, you'd expect that sort of spark that they might give you, um, but maybe not on the consistent level. That's why I think maybe at right wing you could find someone, but I'm just not sure. Maybe Anthony from Ajax off the top of my head, but no, I don't know anyone. But okay, that's probably enough on United. If we move on to a championship team that United will see next year, Fulham, they got promoted as people probably thought they would, quite dominant in the end. How do you think they'll get on next year? Because will they finally be able to find a home in the Premier League, or will they just drop back down again?
Well, their hopes solely rely on Mitrovic, in my opinion, because the season that he's obviously just had the greatest championship season of all time is still going. And you see players who do that in the championship, like Ivan Toney, and then he comes to the Premier League. He's having a decent season this year. Glenn Murray in the past, bang goals in, came to the Premier League. Decent little return in the Premier League as well. Alexander Mitrovic has shown that he is not Premier League quality when he's been in the Premier League. But this, obviously next season, it's a new season, it's a new chance for him. If he can show that he is that guy in the Premier League and Fulham get a few nice little bits next to him, then they could have a chance at staying up. Obviously, it'll all be about safety at the start, but let's just say my predictions happen where Bournemouth finish second, which they probably will now, and Huddersfield go through the playoffs. I think Bournemouth will be all right because Scott Parker's a good manager, and some of their players have had experience in the Premier League, of course, and they've had experience staying up in the Premier League. So I think Fulham will be all right. But then you start to look around. The Premier League is getting a lot harder. That's why you see these teams like Norwich and Watford going straight down. The Premier League's getting a lot tougher because then you look at, okay, who else is going to be down there with Fulham and Huddersfield? And then you look around, you think Leeds look like a much better team in the March. Then you think Everton will probably sort it out next season. And then you think, okay, what about the mid-table fodders? Palace and Brighton only look to be getting better at the minute. And then as you think about Southampton for some reason just always seem to look like they're okay all the way through the season. I just don't see like the Premier League is getting harder and harder. That's why I commend Brentford for what they've done this season. They've come up and they've looked like a Premier League team. It's a lot harder to stay in the Premier League now than it used to be. And for that, I think Fulham really might struggle again next season.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford do what Sheffield United did the other year, though. You know how that second season syndrome, how Sheffield United just completely collapsed in that second season. Wilder got sacked, and they really didn't like recover at all. There's got to be a team that's down there with the promotion, with the teams that get promoted. Huddersfield probably are going to be the whipping boys next year. You hate to say it because you like their story and what they've done with what they've got, but they're really going to struggle, man. But on to Fulham, I do actually think they'll stay up. I think Mitrovic is going to get about 15 to 20 goals. With his previous record, I was having a look earlier. One season he got 3 in 27, and the other season he did slightly better a bit better with 11 in 37. If he gets that back up, I mean, he's only 27. It feels like he's been around for ages. Like he was with Newcastle, like what, 6-7 years ago, and then he moved to Fulham. They need to get some guys in there, like 3 or 4 players, because they're probably going to lose Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think they can sign Nico Williams, who's been pretty good down the right, because I don't think Liverpool are going to keep him. I don't think he's particularly good enough for them. But Marco Silva needs to get in like 4 or 5 players. But I think you could trust Marco Silva. He kept Watford up, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and then Everton. Yeah, and did I think he was fine, and then he had the second season where he got sacked, I think. But yeah, I mean, he's like fairly proven. He's not the worst manager. So I've got a feeling about Fulham where they might finish like 12th or 13th, and your Southamptons, your Palaces, might slightly drop down, even though I really like Palace. But I think they're gonna lose Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
Will they replace him? It's going to be a tough ask. So I think they could drop down a few spaces. And as I said, Brentford. You said Leeds probably going to be near there. So I've got a feeling about Fulham that they might do a decent job. Is there anything else on the Championship before we move to League One?
I don't know. Obviously, Derby have just gone down.
Yeah,
Peterborough and Barnsley are going to follow them, no doubt. Reading are too far clear now. It
yeah.
really is the playoff race that's interesting in the Championship right now. Have you changed any of your predictions? I know I think you had Sheffield United make
Yeah,
it.
I had Sheffield United. I'm still feeling good about that prediction now. I mean, I pretty much like every team. I think it was except for Millwall have dropped points in the last week. No one's won 2 games over the last week. I went to over the weekend, the Good Friday games and the Monday games. So I mean I went to the Coventry game on Monday, and I was so hoping for a good result. I really thought, oh, this is a chance, like because they before the 2 previous games, they're on a little bad streak, and I thought, oh no, there's no chance. And they go and beat what was it, Fulham, and then beat Brighton, score 7 goals in the process, and then they proceed to lose 3-0 at home and just get completely outclassed. It was they were probably the better side, and then Bournemouth had 3 chances and scored them all, which probably shows you why Bournemouth are going to be in the Premier League next year, you'd think. But yeah, we spoke about the teams going down: Derby, Peterborough, and Barnsley. Do you think Derby will come straight back up? Wayne Rooney's probably, it seems like he's going to stay unless he gets an offer from elsewhere, maybe Everton or something.
Yeah, it's a tough one though, because obviously League One, as we've already said, is just such a tough division. Obviously, you think Sheffield Wednesday would have just bounced straight back fairly easily after their points deduction last year. It's not proven to be the case. Obviously, could still go via the playoffs, could still clinch automatic, but it's been a lot tougher than people think. And then obviously you think of Derby, you think of all their problems with their money problems and everything. If that continues and no one like buys them, I think Mike Ashley is interested.
Yeah, there was a guy in the stands the other day who was like a prospective owner. I don't think it was Mike. It was some other guy. I can't remember his name, but
Yeah.
they've got someone looking at it.
Yeah, well, if let's say they don't get bought and they just continue with these money problems, you could see what happened to Bolton happening to Derby. I mean, obviously Bolton went down to League Two for a season. I know they came straight back up, but it really just could go either way with Derby. They could piss the league, they could win it, but if they don't get anyone to buy the club, then they could be looking at another relegation. Seeing Derby in League Two would just be really, really sad for football, to be honest.
Crazy. So Wigan are pretty much all but promoted. Like I think they've got to win like maybe one more game or even draw a game. So a couple of years ago they had this. They went into administration as well. It seems to be like the common theme. All these big clubs just go into administration. They got bought out by this Bahrainian guy who bought the club. You'd imagine he's going to invest a fair amount. So once they get to the Championship, maybe if they can get a bit of investment in. I mean, the manager who was a caretaker, so it was Paul Cook who was there at first, then he left, and then his assistant took over when the club was in turmoil, and he's really turned them around. Like they survived relegation last year, and then this year they've been like, well, obviously the best side in the league by quite a margin. So if they can get, you'd think 3 or 4 players in, and hopefully like a fair amount of investment, because as we said, like the jump up from League One to the Championships, probably as big a jump as most leagues. So yeah, and then the final thing I was going to touch on, I think I wrote this on our brief, was between 2nd and 7th, there's like 6 points. We were saying how tight the Championship playoff race is. This is even tighter to get the automatic promotion spots. And I was saying Rotherham are the favourites, Probably because I think they've got a game in hand, or they're 3 points ahead or something. And I was just looking the other day. I knew they were up and down a bit, but if you want to hear a yo-yo club, it's Rotherham. They've been up and down every season since like the 2016-17 season. I mean, that's great. Like I knew they'd been up and down, but up and down since 2016 and 17, like every season, up, down, up, down. You imagine how it's like the Premier League, and they'd be stacked with the parachute payments.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really see that very often between League One and Championship, to be
No.
honest. And to be fair to Rotherham, they're not really a Championship club, like, so you know what, you got to give them a bit of credit for that, especially if they go up again this season, which I do have them going up. So, you know, fair play to Rotherham.
Yeah. So that's probably everything. I think we've touched on most things. Did you have anything else that we might?
Just on the back on the League One, just right at the end. I just can't. Obviously, you know that I like going off on like some sort of tangent sometimes. I just want to touch on MK Dons are at the obviously they're near the top of League One, and obviously they could be looking at going up. But I just want, obviously, I spoke last week about the Crystal Palace Brighton rivalry and how it's quite an underrated one. MK Dons versus AFC Wimbledon. I think this is one of the most unique rivalries in English football, and I think that's very fair to say that, because obviously they had the thing where it was Wimbledon, and then they controversially relocated to the new town, MK Dons. They relocated, and they just expected all the fans to follow, even though it's 56 miles away from each other. But obviously, a lot of Wimbledon fans were outraged, and they obviously created their own club, AFC Wimbledon. They've done very well. But it's like, this is probably the most unique rivalries in football, because MK Don fans get bantered for being tin pot fans. Their stadium is a soulless bowl that's far too big for them, and that's very true. But every time these two clubs play, it's genuine hatred, because they played the other week. I think they drew 1-1 at AFC Wimbledon's ground. And the hatred that between the fans and the players, it doesn't really matter who was playing for them at the time. It's just such a unique kind of rivalry. I mean, the first time they played at a league game an FA Cup game, sorry, at Stadium MK, the Wimbledon fans tore up the stadium that day. And then it's even like things that you wouldn't see in other English derbies. It's Wimbledon got fined by the EFL for refusing to put MK Dons' name on their scoreboard or in their match program. It's things like that you think, hang on, this is a real rivalry. So I'd just be interested to know where people kind of rank this rivalry, because every time they play, they need a police escort from Milton Keynes all the way to Wimbledon and vice versa, all the way until they get to the stadiums. It was the first time in EFL history that they created they said I think it was a fan bubble or something like that, where the fans literally weren't allowed any contact with each other before the game, because it's just such a biggest grudge match. When you think about an actual grudge, this is probably the biggest grudge match.
There's reasons behind it.
Yeah, there's reason. This isn't just a normal oh, we share the same city or we're right next to each other, we hate each other. This is political. This is genuine hatred. So as far as MK Dons v AFC Wimbledon go, this might be the most unique football rivalry in the world, really.
Yeah, I mean, that surprised me, because I didn't actually know that. I'd imagine that they weren't too much of fans of each other, but I didn't know that it was such a heated rivalry. It's like what you hear in Eastern Europe, in Turkey or Poland, with that sort of rivalry. So yeah, I mean, I've been to Milton Keynes and MK Dons. I mean, it's a terrible place to go. It's one of the worst places. It's horrible. but saying that, the fans seem to have enough passion, and this rivalry seems quite intense. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on it next time, because I didn't realize it was so feisty. But no, that was the story for the day, wasn't it? The little tangent. We'll probably have one each week or so.
But one each week.
Yeah. So aside from that, I think we pretty much covered everything. It's probably a bit of a shorter episode, like 45 minutes or so, but that's because there hasn't been loads of Premier League football, and we can only touch on so much League One and Championship football, but without we'd just be rambling on about anything before we end. So yeah, we've covered everything. I think that'd be that. Do you have anything else, or?
Enjoyed that.
No, that's it. All right, awesome. That will be that. And this episode, I think, will be on YouTube, hopefully. Nice. So awesome.